Hello, I'm training for Unbound. Yes, the Unbound 200 gravel ride. What's that? You can't hear me very well? Well, okay, I'll take a little break. Hang on. Yeah, sorry about that. This is part of my training for the Unbound 200-mile gravel race, which happens May 30th. Today, May 17th, 13 days from now. I'm feeling pretty confident, more than a little anxious. Part of my training, the twin gifts I got in the spring of 2020, COVID and prostate cancer, continued to torment me. I ended up with long COVID, and the cancer cells floating around in my body combined with long COVID. On occasion, I get respiratory infections that make it very, very difficult for me to breathe. So I'm on a little albuterol, nebulizing it, that is, churning it up into a mist and breathing it in, making me feel better. Training pretty well. Watching my power meter, my new key to training, keep those numbers low enough that I think I can get all the way to 200 miles. Anyway, let's talk a little detail about where I am in my training and what my approach will be to the race.
Okay, let's talk about my plans for the next 13 days. I'm using the Training Peaks application online with incredible help from Gravel Cycling Hall of Fame Christy Ligon and the folks at Merchant Cycling in Emporia, Kansas. Here's my training plan from now until May 30. Oh, what is this? 115 CTL? CTL is chronic training load, which is a measure that combines duration and intensity, and it is based on the weighted average of the daily TSS, training score intensity. Training score intensity is estimation of how hard you're training. The algorithm updates daily for each ride and calculates how hard I'm riding, whether I'm improving my fitness, losing fitness, and you can see I get a nice downward trend for the last week until I ride the race. What about that peak? That was my longest training race of 114 miles on gravel, only about 3,400 feet of climbing, but the week before I did a very serious climbing of about 75 miles with about 9,000 feet of climbing. So I think more or less I'm okay. And here's my training plan for the next 2 weeks leading up to the race. You can see I get a lot of days off, more days off than usual. Again, reducing the intensity of the training. These 2 days I'll be on the road, so whether on the 26th I actually ride, I don't know. Maybe wait until I get to Emporia, Kansas on the 27th. And then the big day, May 30. Let's take a look at the route. There it is in all its glory. 206.9 miles with 8,700 feet of climbing. 11% of that is paved, 88% unpaved, and yeah, it kind of scares me, 1% is unknown. Let's take a slightly closer look. You can see there are 3 aid stations, one at mile 42, one at mile 100, one at mile 160. The aid stations, I can stop and pick up whatever I've given to the organization that's going to give me the stuff I've given them. So I have 3 bags, loaded with the stuff I want. I'll show that in a little while, but I'll have all the stuff I need to get some calories in, refuel my water, and get on down the road. And in addition, there are 2 other spots which just have water, mile 64 and mile 189. What about this year's route? It is a 20th anniversary. According to Cycling Weekly, everything you could ever want. The 2026 Unbound course strings together greatest hits from 20 years of Flint Hills gravel racing. Yeah, greatest hits, every single one of the most difficult of the segments. As always with Unbound Gravel, the course preview includes ominous descriptors like chunky, rocky, and potentially muddy. There will be leg-zapping climbs, never steep but always heavy, vast vistas, wind-blown plains, tire-slicing flint rocks, and creek crossings. In other words, everything you could ever want in a minimally maintained road race organizers shared in local media. What about the details of our race day plan? Let's hop over to Goddamn Route Plan, which asks the question, what am I even doing out there? This application allows me to take the online presentation of the Unbound route from an application called Ride with GPS, paste the URL into Goddamn Route Plan, put in some details about myself, my size, my weight, how fast I plan on riding, my fitness level, and it spits out what I need to do to complete the race as I planned. The details of GPS measurements, this gives a few thousand more feet of climbing, but this gives me how many total calories I plan on burning, or I should be burning if I complete the race as I planned, how many grams of carbs I should consume during the race, and how many fluid milliliters of water. It says 15,000 milliliters or 15 liters of water. Goddamn route plan is even more impressive. It breaks down my ride into how many grams of carbs I should consume per hour, how many milliliters of water I should consume per hour, calculates in my 3 aid stations where I get to stop and resupply, and even estimates the temperature out 2 weeks out to help calculate how much liquid I should be consuming. And what am I going to be eating and drinking? I'm going to be using Science and Sport electrolyte mix in the 3-liter water bladder in my bicycle's frame. I'll also be consuming their gels. I've used these for a long time. I don't want to change anything now. Lots of stories of people changing up products that they consume while cycling and suddenly getting upset stomachs. Last thing I want to do, 150 miles out into the middle of nowhere. And at the aid stations, well, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and of course chocolate chip cookies, and they'll have them there for me. Real Coke, yes, that lovely combination of sugar and caffeine. And they've got fingers crossed concerning the weather. Yes, it could be this bad. This is a mud year when riders asked, is Unbound too epic? Legends of the Gravel Race defend its difficulty and revisit its gnarliest editions. And yes, I've been dumb enough to check the weather forecast this far out. I know it can't be accurate. Just wanted to do it to give myself some more anxiety. You can see temperatures in the mid-80s with scattered thunderstorms and heavy-duty winds. This could be a very difficult year. I'm hoping I'll be just as happy this year as it was last year. Here I was riding the last year's 100-mile race. I had planned on riding the 200-mile race, but I was sick through January and February of last year. Couldn't be on my bicycle. Again, my respiratory infections combining with cancer. Got fit enough to go out and ride the 100-miler. Same bike this year. You can see that frame bag, the gray bag, the triangle, the frame. It's carrying a 3-liter bladder of water that I've mixed with my electrolyte mix, and I'm pedaling happily along.
Well, that's the plan. We'll see if it works. Feeling pretty good. As I said, also feeling a bit anxious. Give you another update in a couple of days. Well, a few days. How about 11 or 12 days? When I get to Emporia, Kansas, get there a couple days early, go on some of the shakeout rides, which are a little too fast for me. A nice slow shakeout ride, hang out, eat some carbs. In the meantime, yeah, back to my training. I think it's going to work. We'll see. See you down the road. Pedal safely and pedal your heart out. Rave on.